example, if we had the wisdom in our heart that understands the real source of happiness is inner peace. If you have a peaceful mind, you're naturally happy. If you have no peace of mind, it's impossible to be happy, no matter how many wonderful things you have in your life. If there's no peace of mind, you feel naturally miserable. So if we have the wisdom in our heart, like we were looking at earlier on, we have that Dharma alive in our heart that understands the real source of deep and lasting happiness is inner peace or peace of mind. Then we understand I have my own source of peace and happiness through this kind of training that I'm cultivating over time. The deeper the peace and happiness you find within your heart, within your mind, the less you're going out to find some external source of happiness or peace that you feel in some way will give you the peace and happiness that you long for. So instead of constantly consuming more and more stuff and buying more and more things and all of that stuff having to go into landfill sites or have to have a bigger car because if I have a bigger car, I'm going to be happier. I'm not saying we shouldn't have nice things in our life. Of course, I'm not saying that at all. But the constant craving, the constant desire to have more and more stuff and the consumer society that we're creating as a result of that is simply a symptom of people feeling at some level they lack peace and happiness. So if you're continually increasing your peace and happiness and you're deepening your peace and happiness through a training like this, then what happens is you start to relax the constant grasping at, I need this and I need that and I need to keep replacing this for that. I need to get the newest smartphone because my old smartphone is not making me happy anymore. Instead of that mind and that consumer society that it creates and the environmental impact that that has, we all start to withdraw a little bit from all of that craving and distraction and agitation. We start to find our own source of peace and happiness and we start to reduce the craving and so forth. Again, we only crave what we lack. And we crave things out there to make us feel happy in here because we lack peace of mind and happiness a lot of the time in here. So if we had the wisdom that understood that, then of course we'd start to begin to address the problems we see in the world with the climate crisis because people would have less drive to have all of that stuff. Again, also a lot of the problems we're seeing with conflict in the world is just because people are in conflict with themselves. Their minds aren't in a good place. They're easily triggered when somebody else says or does something they don't want them to say or do. You know, sometimes I notice this when I'm on the M50 in Dublin. People just like caught up in road rage on the M50 and they're just like, you know, trying to ram you at the back because you're going a little bit slower. Well, if you're like me, you're going a little bit slower than you should be. And all that rage is just easily triggered, so easily triggered by somebody just going a bit slower than you. And of course, as soon as they overtake you, you know, it's the next person in front of them, then they're pushing up on their bumper. So there's a lot of that going on in the world because we're not at peace within ourselves. We don't have that deeper wisdom and compassion to deal with things. Because you wouldn't ride somebody's bumpers, come straight up behind them if you had some compassion for that person in front of you. Maybe they're going slower because they're struggling today. Maybe they're just struggling with life today. And so if we have that wisdom and compassion, we wouldn't have those situations. And if we had more love and compassion for others, we wouldn't be wanting to cause harm to others. There wouldn't be so much conflict in the world. I'm not saying that we wouldn't have to sit down and have a really robust and honest conversation with other people about better solutions to what's going on in our life or in the world. It's just we can have those conversations from love, from compassion, from wisdom. You know, Geshe Kelsang, my teacher in the book, The New 8 Steps to Happiness, the Buddhist way of loving kindness, he says, you know, if everyone just cherished each other, we'd solve many of the major problems in the world in a few years. So just think about that. If we all just like had a genuine love for other people, felt their suffering matters, their happiness matters, their freedom from suffering is important to us, their happiness is important to us. If we all held that view in our heart and we had that warm heart of love for others, we'd start to find far better solutions to all the challenges we see in the world. So that's why I make the statement based on, you know, basically Buddhist wisdom, is that the real problem in the world is the present lack of wisdom and compassion in the hearts of living beings. We can improve that though. That's what this refuge in Dharma enables us to do. We can start to live from a peaceful mind and a good heart of love, compassion, and wisdom. We can find solutions to the problems in our life. We can start to find solutions to the problems in the world.